been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down.
Yes, I do understand these cars are as different as chalk and cheese. This is a 4-door family sedan and this is a 2-door convertible. So objectively, there is no comparison between these two. But here's the thing, they're powered by the same 3-litre 6-cylinder turbo petrol engine. And guess which one is more expensive? Well, yes, you're right, it is the BMW Z4. And guess which one is more powerful and quicker? Well, nope, you're wrong, it is the M340i. But which one of these two 40i's is a better driver's BMW? Which one is more engaging? That's what we're here to find out today. Would it be fair to say that the M340i is the best or most complete performance car under a crore? Well, I think that is the case because it virtually offers everything that you'd want in a performance car, especially in India. It has got the space, it has got the go, that engine, that B58 6-cylinder turbo petrol engine, it has over 370 horses and it definitely goes because it can do 0 to 100 in 4.4 seconds. And that's probably faster than the E90 M3, right? I think it is faster than that. So I've long maintained that this is a bargain M3 because the way this drives, the way this feels, the kind of engagement that you get from behind the wheel, well, I think it feels 80% like an M car and it doesn't cost as much. So I think the M340i, it is really, a brilliant piece of engineering, and it shows that when BMW does things properly, well, of course, they really ace it. Now, coming back to this version, this is the latest 2024 spec M340i. So there have been some updates in terms of cosmetics, but more importantly, it gets a big new upgrade, and that's the M adaptive suspension. Of course, the damping, you can change it, or it's adaptive, so it figures it out itself and then it changes the damping. And I think that has made a world of a difference because on the road, this definitely feels more absorbent. And there is that suppleness in its ride quality that was not there before because the previous version, from what I remember, used to feel stiff, used to feel harsh all the time. Now, of course, in terms of ride quality and in terms of how easy it's to live with, that is a great job. But has that affected the handling? Well, to be honest, if you're driving normally or if you're driving on the road, if you're going in a straight line, I think there's no difference at all because it feels completely tied down. It feels hunkered down and it really goes. There's a lot of grip and there's absolutely no problem at all. But I think if you push it hard, you can definitely tell that there is a bit more body roll now and it definitely leans a bit on its side. I'm not saying that it's wallowy or something like that, but I do think it's not as sharp as it used to be. Of course, the steering is phenomenal. It is direct. It is a little dead in the center, but if you go through different modes, if you are in sport mode or even in comfort mode, I think it is quite precise and quite direct. So that hasn't changed. But I think in terms of road holding, it's still as great, but it definitely feels softer. And I've seen this with newer LCA versions, even in the 3 Series. Well, they've made all these cars softer because I'm guessing based on their customer feedback, they'd want, these are everyday cars, so they'd want them to be more supple, more absorbent. So I'm sure they have tweaked the suspension a little bit. Even in the sportiest of settings, it isn't as sharp as I'd want it to be. One thing that I'm noticing in this new version is that it somehow feels louder than the outgoing version. First of all, it pops and bangs on the overrun, so that's quite nice. And that's more prominent than before, for sure, I can tell you that. Now, I have a feeling that these are piped in noises, and so I'll just do a quick check on that. I'll just roll down the windows. I am in sport mode. Well, no, they seem to be coming from the exhaust. Well, yeah, they are genuine noises. Actually, that sounds quite nice because from what I remember, the M340i didn't sound as loud, or I could not hear all of these exhaust noises that I'm hearing now. Wow. The other thing about the M340i is that unlike the Z4, it's not rear wheel drive. This gets the X drive system, so that means power goes to all four wheels. But the great thing is it doesn't feel like a typical all-wheel drive system. This is a BMW, so the all-wheel drive system, well, it is rear biased. So if you go around a corner really fast and you just get on the gas, you can always feel that, you know, you're being pushed from the back. The car sort of rotates from the back. So like, of course, you get the safety and security and the grip and traction of all-wheel drive system that's there. So that really helps if you kind of overcook things. But overall, I think it feels very playful compared to other all-wheel drive systems. But at the same time, if you're gunning down a straight road, you just mash your throttle pedal and there is absolutely no fishtailing, nothing. It's just rock steady. And I'm on not a very grippy patch of road. It is all dusty, but I can feel absolutely nothing. The tires, the grip levels are just simply outstanding. So yes, it'll let you misbehave when you want it to, but all the other times it feels safe and secure. So like I said, this feels complete in virtually all the departments. It's got everything going for it. If you're in Sport Plus mode, it's loud, like this. But the moment you turn to comfort, now listen, everything kind of drones out. It has become the luxury car that it is. So it's refined, it's quiet, and it's just this split personality that it has, you know. It just feels so smooth and effortless. Even the interior, it has got the latest BMW iDrive system. It has got the same curved display that you get in newer BMWs, so it feels up to date in all the departments. And the driving position is simply phenomenal. The steering wheel is also new. It has this flat bottom M wheel, gives you more sporty feel for sure. You've got paddle shifters. The ZF 8-speed automatic transmission, well, I think it's the best automatic transmission out there. It is just flawless, and even in a performance machine, it's not lagging. You can't catch it napping anytime. It has got the go. It has got all the goods. So I think in that regard, I don't think how you can falter this car. But is it the most engaging performance car under a crore? Because the Z4, well, that is a traditional BMW in the sense it is a two-door, short wheelbase sports car of sorts. And again, it is rear wheel drive, but it has the same engine, the same transmission. Is it the better 40i of these two? Well, I can tell you one thing, it has its work cut out, but I have huge expectations from it. And I'll just launch it from a standstill. I can feel that rear wheel drive essence because it kind of fishtails, and you can definitely feel it through the steering wheel. So it feels more traditional, it feels more analog, definitely in that regard. Now, the moment you jump into the driving seat of the Z4, especially when you're coming from the M340i, well, you realize how serious things get. Of course, it's much lower down. This is a proper two-door sports car of sorts, and everything is more serious. Everything is more driver-focused. Now, of course, the thing is, this is a generation older than the M340i. So the whole interior, the touch screen and everything it belongs to the older generation. But on the upside, you've got a lot of buttons. So it definitely feels more practical in that sense. And you also get a proper gear lever as well. So it feels more analog, relatively more analog compared to the M340i, which feels more modern and up to date. And again, the steering wheel, it has an M steering wheel, but it's perfectly round. It's not that flat bottom steering wheel. I think it feels great to hold, and it's the right size. It feels smaller than the M340i steering wheel for sure. Now this is the M40i, and there is no M version of the Z4. There's no Z4 M. Of course, there is a Toyota Supra, which is based on the same platform, but we don't get here in India. That's the most sporty version that you can get for this car around the world. Well, coming to the hardware, well, of course, it gets more or less the same hardware. So you get the M Sport differential, you get the M adaptive suspension, and everything like what the M340i gets. Of course, the engine is the same, but it is in a lower state of tune. So this produces around 335 bhp. That means it doesn't have that sort of power. Of course, it's lighter, and that means it can do 0 to 100 in 4.5 seconds. It's paired to the same 8-speed ZF transmission. So even in terms of gear shift quality, or in terms of how urgent the shifts are, well, it is more or less the same. So these are all the similarities that these two cars have. But coming back to the differences, well, they are quite significant. First of all, this is a rear-wheel drive sports car, and the moment you come out of a corner and you step on the throttle pedal, well, you can feel that the rear is moving. So the rear is quite lively on this car. It moves a lot, it fishtails, and of course it doesn't have the security or traction of all-wheel drive. So this definitely feels more playful in that sense. I mean, it feels livelier, to be honest. Coming back to the playful part, now the thing is, it gets fat tires. Now both these cars, the M340i and the Z40, well, they get staggered tires. So the M340i has a 225 and 255 setup. So 225 at the front and 255 at the back. But this one gets a 255 at the front and a 275 at the back. So of course there is more grip, the tires are fatter, and even though there is that initial slip that happens, but to get it out of shape, it doesn't want to let its rear loose. It definitely feels like a sports car still. It doesn't have that split personality that the M340i has. So this, it always feels like a sports car for sure. Now another thing that I noticed is that again, in terms of refinement levels, it is superb in that regard. If you drive it gently, if you drive it in comfort mode, it's not going to be loud. It is very refined, and it feels like a BMW. You can always feel that sort of inherent firmness of a sports car, and that's what makes you believe that you are in something sportier than the M340i. If you go around a turn, it has that sort of dead feel in the center for the steering wheel, but when you just turn it a little more, it has more heft, and it sort of gives you more feedback than the M340i, I'd say. It feels like it's a hydraulic unit. It feels hefty, it feels good to hold, and it has great feedback.
That said, the Z4's front end doesn't feel as willing or pointy as the M340i's. And thanks to its short wheelbase, it doesn't have the same sort of sure-footedness either. It's not a lousy handler for sure, but I expected it to be at least sharper and more agile than the M340i, if not anything else.
That it surprisingly feels more muted than the M340i. And that's really surprising because we did an exhaust sound comparison of both these cars from the outside. And this definitely was the louder of the two. But inside, it has a very sort of refined aggression. The M340i was loud. I could hear the pops and bangs and crackles, everything in the M340i. In this, maybe when you're outside, you can hear it, but inside the cabin, I'm in Sport Plus mode, but still, it's not as loud, or no pops and crackles. See, on the overrun, nothing is happening. But then you have a quick fix for that, because it is a convertible. So you can put the roof down in just 10 seconds. And that's what I'm going to do. So let's see if it gets any better or louder in this case. So I'm now doing 29 kilometers per hour. I think the roof will come down. Yes. I'm still moving. Convertible roof movement complete. Wow, nothing beats this experience. Well, yes, it's much louder now. It's more engaging. It is, the pops are more bassy in this. That's what I feel like. It's deeper. Yeah. Again, feels more analog and more old school that way. And of course, once the roof is down, well, the M340i can't match this experience. See, even while going over a bump and you are on the gas, and it kind of hops and moves a lot, so the suspension, it never feels settled in that sense, and that also makes the car feel more lively. Adaptive suspension is not as comfortable as it's in the M340i, but then that's not what we want today. Well, yeah, you can't beat a convertible. Even if you give me a real M car, I think when you've got this sort of headroom and this sort of driving experience, hey, it's really hard to kind of better this experience for sure. Now, one thing that I've noticed is that the 8-speed ZF transmission, it somehow feels, even though the transmission is same, but it somehow feels snappier in the M340i. It's not exactly convertible weather. It's winter here in Delhi. The air quality is horrible. But even then, I can't just resist it. I had to drop the top. And that's the beauty and charm of a convertible, The sense of occasion, even in these gloomy conditions, in this dystopian weather, there is a sense of occasion, and yeah, that you definitely can't beat this sort of experience for sure. Now, having driven both these cars to my heart's content, I have to say that if you want a greater sense of occasion, the Z4 is the answer, because it is old school, it is analog, and on top of that, it's a convertible. So every time you head out for a drive, you have that special feeling. But having said that, as a driver's car, it feels a little restrained. And even that M40i engine, well, you feel that it is slightly underpowered compared to its sibling, the M340i. Now, speaking of the M340i, of course, it's a 4-door practical family saloon, and they've also softened it up a bit in this update, but still, it is the benchmark. If you want an ultimate driver sedan, well, this is the car to buy, because at just 74 lakh rupees, it is a steal deal. And yes, more importantly, I have to say that 3-litre 6-cylinder B58 engine, well, it feels livelier and louder in this car. And this has also that sense of occasion, but it's also more exciting. It's more engaging. and as a result, it's more thrilling. So, which of these 40i's is a better driver's car? Well, of course, the answer is clear. The M340i is the winner of this test.